tonight we're talking about music, media, and royalties. We're going to be focusing on how it all works, and that's why we have Frank here, and of course we have Bada. I'm sure there's a lot of things to say, and of course Gang, who is also in radio. We can talk about this. There's been so many issues over the years, from the P-Square brothers to Mercy Chinwo's issue. We had Kiss Daniel, who he had to change the spelling of his name
to Kiss.
Kiss, exactly. And then we also had Runtown, who was run out of town musically because of all of this.
You've been waiting to say that, I'm sure.
So let's dive into it. Let's define what royalties are, because I feel a lot of Nigerians don't understand it, and once there's a buzz in social media, everyone wants to say something without really understanding what royalties are. I want to start with you, because you deal in television and media at large,
in music as well,
and music. So can you help define it in the simplest term possible?
So royalties are the payments or the revenues that recorded or music that is performed live or written down, right, earns from usage by third parties over time. So typically, music will belong to a number of entities. Usually, you would have record companies who own some of the publishing. You would have songwriters, the creatives, the producer, the songwriter, the singer. So there's something called the split sheet, right, which is a document that says how much each of those individuals contributed.
Contributed.
Yes. So their revenues, their share of revenue is always proportional to the contribution they made. So on the split sheet, the contribution they made. So if the three of us make a record, make a song, and I sing a verse, you sing a verse, he sings a verse. But you sing the chorus as well, and you produce.
I get more shares.
So you get more points. We call it, you get more points, like percentages. So say you get 60%. I get 20, he gets 20. All right? So the points that are documented on the split sheet is how payment, when what we call the mechanicals are calculated, right? So let's say the music gets on DSPs, digital streaming platforms, the Apple Musics of this world, the Spotifys of this world, the Audio Marks and co. At the end of the month, right, those people calculate their revenues from ad revenue, from streaming, the subscription that the people who streamed paid. And then they give you a share of listens, right? So if our song got that month, say 0.5% of total listens, he gets about 4.5% of total revenues. Right? And so when they pay the money to us, the money is paid based on the points that were allocated on the split sheet originally. So you get 60% of that revenue, he gets 20, I get 20.
So it's $1 million, I get 600. You get
exactly.
Why do I get 20?
I'm not even on the song.
Because I sang the chorus.
I'm not even on the song.
You are the listener. So listen. You are the one streaming. Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
So broadly, that's how mechanicals work. So and then there are four mechanicals. There are what you call earnings from recorded music. So when the CD is bought, we're away from the CD era, but there are still parts of the world where people still buy CDs, all right? Vinyls, for instance.
Vinyls, yes.
People still buy them.
Oh, yes.
So in this part, we say, my father or my grandfather used to listen to vinyls.
Yes, there are some music heads that say vinyls sound better than CDs.
Absolutely. And then in the same way people collect artwork, some people collect vinyls, just as status symbol. So rich people, mega rich people will do that. So when you purchase music in that form, right, the royalties that accrue from usage, right, go back to the people who made the music. And then you talk about performance royalties. So when you get on stage and you play, there's a portion of the ticket revenue that is given to you, right? That also forms royalties. And when other people perform your music, so that record the three of us made, when other people perform it, right, some of the monies that people pay to listen to it should come back to us. Then there's something we call sync licensing, where someone is recording, is making a movie in Nollywood and says, the song that this guy has made will be good as a soundtrack.
Yes.
Right? So they use it on the film, they pay us. Someone makes a commercial and thinks, this should be the soundtrack for the commercial, they license it and they pay us for that. So all of those, revenues, they're called residuals broadly, because you're sitting in your house and your music is making money. And he's making money.
And it happens in film and television too.
Absolutely. Okay. But in this part, what you find is, because there is no real structure and laws and enforcement, you still find a lot of radio stations, for instance, most radio stations don't actually pay royalties.
That's true. I can verify that for you.
Yeah, when you play people's music on air, radio is ad supported. The biggest revenue stream is advertising. It's only fair that if our music helped in getting listenership, we should get a slice of the pie. But there's no enforcement. No, but we'll get there.
You ain't gonna see it. You ain't gonna see
it. So that's how it works broadly.
Nice.
So I want to ask you, I think the same thing applies to television. In your experience in broadcasting, what are the things that you feel can be improved over time? And I know you have a personal, personal information on a particular situation, which is also
Mercy Chinwo.
Mercy Chinwo.
Yes.
Actually, so let's start with television. What are the things you think could have been done better? Because I think royalties too, the same principle applies to television. What are the things you think can be improved on?
I think the structures in the industry would be like abroad. They have in America, I think they have the Nielsen ratings, where they know that they know the number of eyeballs that watch this TV show. So when advertisers come, they'll be like, put me on the best rated television shows, the ones that have high viewership. So you have the ratings there. You know that, okay, Suits is at this time, this number of people that watch it. So you as a TV station that you're airing, some of these TV stations own the TV series or the movies, so they make money from there. But the problem is we don't have that kind of structure here. We don't know how many people watched Super Story, watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, watched Big Brother. I think they know, because Big Brother is a cable-based production, whereby they know how many people watch. It's digitalized. Yes, they know that. So it's easier. But for terrestrial TV, if we put, like right now, I don't know if you guys know how many people are watching now based on, I don't think so.
We have a rough estimate.
It's called the diary system. So it's not scientific. You can't empirically verify it.
Okay.
But the good news is...
talk to me.
Good news is
don't tell me digitalization.
No.
Okay.
So globally, the audience measurement system is called TAM or TAMS. It's an acronym for Television Audience Measurement or Television Audience Measurement System, right? And Nigeria, the government of Nigeria has been investing in delivering this technology to the
just
media
like they were
industry.
investing in digitalization for more than a decade now.
So the DSO project stalled, and they've switched from digital terrestrial television, which would have required them to do point-to-point connections,
which are those boxes, I believe.
Yeah. But now they switch to DTH, which is satellite delivery.
Of course.
But with audience measurement, they actually have gotten to a very advanced stage where, by end of this year, Nigeria, which contributes Lagos, which contributes about 90% of the ad spend in the Nigerian 90%, ad spend in Nigerian advertising space, will be fully covered for monitoring. So they're installing panels, they're installing what they call people meters, with which they can tell who's watching what for how long, all of those. So we're very close to having what you call a seller's market. What we've had all along is a buyer's market, where brands say, this is how much we have.
Take it.
Exactly. But as he said, you should be able to tell this show, not only the size of the audience, but the demographics. it's young adults, age this to this,
the age
who watch
bracket.
it. And there's also what we call average time spent, ATS. So you can tell how much someone actually sat and watched the show for. So if they didn't watch the entirety of the show, you can tell. Which is why for the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl is priced not necessarily on the total audience that watches the final. It's on the people who watch the halftime show. Because that's when viewership peaks. Not during the game.
Not during the game.
Exactly. Because they know, they can tell.
Nice.
So, gang, in your experience in radio, why do you think there's always an issue with artists and managements and record labels and all of that? I was with D-Tunes some weeks back, and he was talking about so many things, and I'm like, how do you guys survive? I mean, record label owners, producers, and all of that. So in your experience in radio, because obviously you would have encountered a thing or two,
it all comes
what do you think causes that?
It all comes down to money and man's greed in a nutshell. Once money is involved, even the holiest of them tend to have some kind of conflict. In radio, like he said, similar to there was a time Koson tried to implement some kind of structure. But they did it wrong. I remember they approached my brand at the time and were saying, you guys have thrived off Nigerian content. You owe us just an example, you owe us 2 billion naira.
Very annoying.
Do you understand? They'll come and start saying, when did you establish this station? And from now, so you guys owe us 2 billion naira. If not, we'll call blah, blah, blah and shut you down. You know, that process. So where do you expect me to get 2 million naira from? And then when we give you the 2 billion, it was 2 billion, they said. When we give you the 2 billion, how are we sure it's going to get to the artists?
So the artists,
So let me tell you what happened. Inside story. It was just like, you know what? Delete all Nigerian music on our platform. The Americans that we're playing, they don't get royalties from Africa because they don't register Africa as
part of their engine.
Do you understand?
Yes,
so they don't get royalties from Africa, so we can play their stuff. We can play other Africans, forget Nigerian music. We're not playing Nigerian music anymore. Delete everything. Do you know what now happened? The artists themselves came through and said, please, play my musical. I am not a part of this organization. So that was the problem. Artists had not signed up to Koson at the time. They were not under that umbrella. Back to the
structural challenge.
Exactly. So they were not under that umbrella. So artists were like, you know what, please, I'm not a part of these guys. You can play my songs. Don't worry about my royalties. So they basically gave up that. Because what they want is for their songs to be played, to be heard, and become famous. They'll make their money off endorsements and shows and streams and whatever. You get where I'm coming from? And that's the reason why I think the streaming platform is picking up more, because artists now see that they can make their money back from streams and not exactly from radio play. Because how do you even calculate it? How many times did I play this P-Square song? Who tracks it? I played
we log it on Radio Nigeria. We went into the culture of logging all the songs we played, be it foreign.
I hope they still do that up till today.
I left many years ago.
So do you understand? So that's the problem.
We had that culture.
A lot of news stations now don't even practice what he's talking about.
No. So Radio Nigeria is like the standard.
So you can't ascertain that I played Whiskey 100 times. So from 100 times, how much do I owe him?
Exactly.
And how much do I pay back? And then the funny thing, there are bigger radio stations like we are, like at the top of the food chain. And then there are stations down there that are not making as much money, but they're all playing the same music.
So that the key point is what you just mentioned. Now, if you approach a media channel or a media platform to pay royalties, you're assuming that they make monies from which they should pay.
Exactly.
So if their revenues are being held up by agencies, they haven't even paid staff, and all these issues that threaten their continued existence, they're not going to pay. So that's the real issue, because say for instance, platform A makes a revenue of 200 million, and the royalties that they should pay on all music played within the month comes to about 20 million. They probably will pay. Do you understand? They probably will pay. But if they made 50 million, but would only get paid next year or in 2 years' time by the agencies,
20 million still.
And how would they define it?
They pay money they don't have.
Do you understand? It is common knowledge that the perception out there is that the media doesn't pay well. And the reason the media is, perceived to not pay well is because the media platforms don't make enough money to pay, right? So there's not enough money being made, and some of the monies that are being made are stuck with the agencies. Okay. So if you resolve some of those issues, right, and there's money, if you come to me, if you come to me and say there's an estate fee that I'm not aware of, that's about 5,000 naira. Do you understand? I'm probably not going to argue so much because it's such a negligible
amount of
percentage of my income.
Of your income.
But if you show up and my income is 500k and you say there's a fee of 250k, even though it's legitimate, you know, there will be resistance. I'm going to tell you, no way, I'm not paying it. And that's what happens. So it's not like media owners don't know that they should pay royalties. It's just that they're struggling to keep the lights on. They're struggling to pay salaries. So why do you want to add another layer?
Do they pay salaries though?
Exactly. You know, you're adding another layer of difficulty on top of it. And you know, when we do get audience measurement, as a first step, things will sort of recalibrate, because now when you can tell this is how much share of audience I have. You can put a rate on that. Like he said, the HBOs who do like Game of Thrones, those are like premium shows. They're going to bill, you know, top dollar for you to advertise to their audience. So it's either you want to pay it or you don't. You don't negotiate.
So they determine.
They determine the price point. So they make so much money, and that's why, you know, the cast, the crew, you hear they get paid $5 million for being because there's so much money. So if someone shows up and says, "Oh, you owe me X amount for royalties,"
you can have it.
They just send you to
you can have
the unit where you reconcile. Say, okay, we played for X amount of times, and you cut your check.
At the same time, I think even some artists, performers, producers, writers, they don't even know their rights. They just signed a contract and they haven't studied it long enough to know how to even chase their money, to know what they have access to know what they're entitled to. Some of the artists don't know. They just want a deal. They just want to be heard. They just want to be played. So they don't know anything about royalties. They don't understand publishing. They don't know that this record, you can eat off it for the rest of your life. And they're just...
But let's come down to something a bit more isolated. The recent incident of Mercy Chinwo was on social media and in the news and all of that. You have more information on that. Can you, like, you know, just run us through what has happened so far?
I'm friends with Mercy Chinwo and her husband. And when this debacle started, they were saying, there was one rift between her and her label, and she wanted her royalties paid. But the label guy was, saying that she breached her contract somehow. There was a flurry of accusations between both parties and everything. So I didn't meddle into it. I just was watching from afar because it was none of my business. But one day, I was at a show and she performed, and I said, "Hey, what's going on with you?" and everything. And she started talking, and she's very emotional. So she started crying and all that. I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll have to, talk to your husband," because the other other party, her label, there were certain things they were saying on, the internet. They were saying certain claims were made, abuse of power and all that. So when I got into it, and the husband sat me down, I found out that royalties were paid, but like you said, these distribution companies, there are like 4 of them. There's YouTube. Firstly, none of her songs are on her YouTube channel. They are on the label's channel, YouTube channel, and she hasn't seen the back end of it to know how much revenue was given. That's it. Now these 3 other companies, Africori, Skiza, and Symphonic. Now, Africori, I think Mercy's husband now showed her proceeds to an artist. I said, between so and so from one distribution company, this is what she made. The artist said, lie. Based on her numbers, lie. Wow. So they did some findings. They now asked those distribution companies, give us figures. Only one could, and that was Africori. And Africori gave for the period of from 2020 to 2023, I think. And the amount of money was like $800 and something thousand. But she was given only dollars.
Wow.
No, she has high numbers. I think she's the
always
third.
Dollars,
She's the third most streamed
gospel artist.
Female artist, not gospel. Female artist, period.
Wow.
You understand? So only 90 grand was given her.
Wow.
No, not so, because, from that 800,000, you have to pay the distribution company.
Yeah.
Then the thing that is remaining, probably 600, so you're supposed to give her, So the documents, I saw all the documents. So now, when they mediated, used people like pastors from churches, they did a mediation, and they said, okay, you know what, let's get an audit company, let's audit and see and everything. But the label wasn't forthcoming. The audit company, I saw the document, the audit company said, based on the fact that the label is not forthcoming with the documents that we need, we're recusing ourselves from this. Okay. And the audit company left. And that's why they went ahead and got the EFCC to, wade into the matter. Yeah. And the EFCC said, you have to show us. And they showed and said, hey, based on this, you received this based on your account, you received this is how much you're owing her, pay her. And they now started propaganda that, he was held and forced to, pay. They let him go, and he even paid the money in 2 installments. He's still owing for that period. That's from one company. So, wow. Yes, so they don't know the back end of YouTube. They don't know the back end of Skiza. They don't know the back end of Symphonic. So they said, okay, let's do an audit. But they are saying that Mercy breached a contract. Okay. So now, towards the end of her contract, the label said, all right, let us extend this contract for 12 years.
12 years?
Yeah, wow. That's what, so she said, no, don't worry. The contract ended, I think it started in 2017, 5-year contract, supposed to end in 2022 or something like that. So based on that, events that she was supposed to make appearances, it was the label that was handling it. So the label stopped giving events. There was another mediation. The label said, okay, you know what, we'll hand over your contact line to you. You handle events, but give us our own cut, which is 50-50. That's why now people were saying, she went behind a label. There is a letter to that I saw. So I saw all these things, and I said, hey, there's nobody standing for her because she's a big star and they feel she's the one abusing power. That's why I've never stepped into matters like that. I stay on my lane, but they're my friends. And one thing about me, if my friend is wrong, I say, you know what, you stole, you were wrong, return. But when I saw all the facts, and I mean, it is not in tandem with what the speculations are. Exactly. I said, hey, you know what, I'm going to put my foot down and make sure that the truth is brought out. And the thing is, even if you just come and mediate and say, okay, see all the back end, see this thing, let us reach a compromise. But don't stop manipulating, you understand, and all that. And if I'm a media person and these people are my friends, I'm going to offer. I've not taken it. I've not asked for. I'm doing it pro bono because they are my friends. Because
as it is, there's a lot of transparency, and then this particular situation is a good way to show people how things should be done when you sign it with a label.
Do you know now? They said. Do you know what obtains right now? When your music is being streamed, there's a dashboard. The label sees the dashboard. The artist sees, say, based on this is this. It's just everything. Then the person knows already. It's transparent. You know what you're going to get. At the end of the month, you say, okay, this is it because of this is what I'm getting. This is what you are getting. It is live, transparent. But if people don't know the back end of distribution, okay, for instance, Mercy's album is on Qatar Airlines.
Okay.
She hasn't, according to Mercy, she hasn't been paid publishing.
Wow.
From inception. So.
She hasn't been paid. What about the label?
The label hasn't paid her. She said that's what she's saying.
The label has been paid, but she hasn't received anything from it.
She has not received based on publishing.
Okay.
So here's I don't know the details of, I'm not privy to the information that Frank
a label owner who's my friend called me, Frank, listen, you have to stay away from this. I said, why? Why am I going to stay? He said, no, this is the thing that happens between artists, that artists feel that they will come. He said, Mercy asks for her catalog back. I said, me, I'm not fighting for catalog. Catalog, if you signed something with catalog, it's an agreement. My hand, no, I don't know about that one. But what I'm talking about is based on the contract you signed, you should pay her royalties.
But you know, typically, to answer your question, your earlier question, or what you alluded to about why these things happen so frequently.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know the details of this specific scenario, but the reason it happens all the time and will continue to happen, sadly, is because when an artist is about to be signed, he's desperate to blow. That's his number one motivation.
Okay.
Cool.
He's not looking at the fine details of the contract, right?
Doesn't even believe he can make that.
And I think that's what happened in that case.
Number two problem is that artists believe that the investment of the record label should not be recouped, and I'll explain. So if I sign an artist, just wait. Okay. So if I sign an artist, I put you in a house, I buy you a car, I spend money to promote your music, which is the biggest cost point, actually.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Music promotion.
Yes, music promotion.
Right now, and you can check with music executives, on an average, to promote a record in Nigeria today will cost you between 50 to 70 million, maybe even more.
What are the details of promoting the record?
It's about, getting it airplay, getting it out there, getting it to the DJs, getting it on radio, getting it on
DSPs, getting it on the streaming platform.
So
promotion,
plugging it in different markets, it costs money. It costs a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Now,
getting it on TVC.
So to shoot music videos, shooting music videos, all of those things, the costuming, all of those things. A music video costs so much money. Now, you typically would make that investment over 6, if there's a quick turnaround, if the artist blows quickly, 6 months to 1 year period. Sometimes 3 years, you're putting money in, the artist hasn't started making revenues, right?
Okay.
All of those monies you are spending globally in music term, it is called recoupable investment.
Okay.
It's not dash. Nobody's Father Christmas. You are supposed to be able to recoup that money.
It's an investment.
Okay.
So if you have a 3-year deal, let's say you are the artist, I'm the record label. I spent 500 million to get you to blow, right? And we have a 3-year deal. Now, for me to recoup that money, we're not even talking about making a return on that investment, just so that I get my 500 million back.
Your capital.
My capital, that I recoup it. It might mean that the terms of our contract from a revenue split standpoint means that whatever revenues you make, I get 70%, you get 30%. Because if I don't get that big chunk, I won't make my 500 million back. Do you get what I mean? Now, a lot of times, when these artists are signing, the 70-30 was there, but 70% of nothing is zero. So it doesn't impact them yet.
They've just
but the day it gets paid 3 million and you want to collect 70% of it, that's the day Wahala will start.
Let me give you a story. I think this was like 2011. Wizkid, Starboy, his first album. I remember when he was signed to EME, and what he said was actually true. That percentage where label gets 70%, artist gets 30%, and it wasn't a big deal. There was a show he was paid 10 million for. So the assumption is that you thought that Wizkid got 10 million naira for that show.
He got 3 million.
He got 3 million. And the label got 70. They flew him, they dressed him, they did all of those sorts, so they had to recoup that amount. Then from the 30%, he pays his manager.
Of course.
So from 10, do you understand? At the end of the day, out of 10 million, he got about 1 million.
Probably gets less than 1 million.
About 1 million. So from the artist's perspective and from his friends, people around him, they'll just be like, they paid 10 million, you're getting 1 million, you're the artist.
Does that explain why a lot of artists sign and after a bit, they want to, go on their own?
No, but here's the thing.
No.
That's not the reason why.
That's not the reason why. In this case, my own is okay. If it is, I don't think it's like that. I think the guy was even generous enough. I think it was 50-50.
Okay.
He was generous enough to do that. Even the 50, let us see the. Let it be transparent. I know that based all this one after this was remaining, and this is yours. This is mine.
Exactly.
And we go.
No, there's no excusing not sharing what we call metadata with her.
Thank you.
The data on the back end should be visible to the artist and to the label. There's no, you can't excuse that.
That's it. So I understand that. Now, but in terms of like the catalog, well, there's nothing you can do about it, because if you signed that, you can't just go and say, hey, you know what, give me back my catalog.
No. If they own the masters, they own.
Can we talk about?
But there's a catch. Sorry, there's a catch to it. I know, in the States now, if after a certain number of years,
that's like, is that like 100 years?
Do you know how long it took them to get to that point?
Like Taylor Swift has the same deal.
No,
she can re-sing, she can re-sing, you can re-record your music.
Taylor Swift re-sang everything because Scooter, you know, was holding on to that. So she said, okay, you know, Taylor Swift, she's a powerhouse. Her fans, she has a cult following.
Yeah.
She told her fans, okay, I'm going to do this.
I will re-sing those your songs.
I will put more.
Please, can we redefine what a catalog is? A music
catalog
for people who don't know.
It's the body of work.
Yes.
The body of work that the artist has put together, whether they are EPs, whether they are albums or single releases. Your catalog is everything that you've recorded.
Let me break it down for you, Olamide. Ever since we started the Black Table, from the first episode till today, that's the Black Table's catalog.
Yeah, everything.
Which belongs to the label now, if we're talking about music terms.
Depending on
based on what you signed. Based on what you signed.
Or the agreement.
Yeah, but
based on what you signed.
In the years of the majors, the Sony Music, the Universal Music, and the Warner, that's the three biggest record labels in the world, they typically own the masters. Because that's the only way they recoup the huge investment that
over the years.
Over the years. Yeah. But in the last 10, 15 years, there's been a shift where artists are now coming out to say, I want my masters. Okay. Remember, Mace and Diddy, it was that sort of thing where he said, can you sell me my masters?
Yes.
Can you give it back to me?
But Justin Timberlake sold his masters. He sold his whole catalog.
Even Ja Rule and the rest people have started selling their masters.
Say, I'll sell it for this. Give me.
There was even a time Prince said Prince didn't like working with artists that didn't own their masters.
Yeah.
Because when he had his own label issues and he stopped calling himself Prince, when he was just a symbol, he was the artist formerly known as Prince. Do you understand? He was trying to take back his masters and own his own recordings.
Prince released the free album.
Yeah, just to
You two did the same thing too. So you'll be wondering. That's why you see this guy, they'll go for their name will be Puff Daddy, then P Diddy, then Puff, then Diddy,
then Love.
They change
Brother Love.
And now Jail Guy. But
you didn't.
What we're saying,
you didn't go there. You didn't go there.
Okay, let me go here. It's like Wizkid and Starboy.
Okay.
You get me?
Okay. That's
the Starboy persona is a way for him to be able to eat off certain things and get a certain percentage. He'll tell you, I'm Wizkid, I can't be on the track as Wizkid, but as Starboy, his label really don't have a hand in that. So,
which is very smart. Actually.
Which is smart for him.
So the one final thing I'll say on this is that from my experience working as a music executive over the last 15 years, incidences like Mercy's, based on the privileged information that he has, there are very few. No, there are very few.
Okay.
Mostly, it's the artists that are in the wrong, from what I know. Right? But because, one, they believe that if they don't fulfill the terms of their contract, there's no repercussion. You can't take them to a court. If you take them, it will drag on forever. Secondly, they typically win in the court of public opinion because they are the ones that people like.
They don't let people know.
So you would hear that some of your our most established artists are still owing labels 2 albums, 1 album based on what they signed, but they're working free. And those labels have gone bust. There are less than 5 proper record labels in Nigeria. Why is that?
5?
Less than 5.
Wow.
Yeah. I can count them on one hand. If you take out Mavin, Chocolate City, Davido's record label, like mention another one. That's a proper label.
Which label is Fido on?
Do you know him?
No. That's the new
Joy
guy
is
that
coming.
Joy is coming.
Oh, Joy is
coming.
Joy is coming.
They know that song.
Dude.
I know Joy is coming. I know Fido. What label is he signed to?
That's what I'm saying.
So usually you have independents, right?
Okay, independent.
Who believe that they don't need a label. Well, you do need a structure. And that's why a lot of people pop today and they fizzle out tomorrow because there is no proper structure behind.
So talent is not enough.
Talent has never been enough. Will never be enough.
I've just seen packaging bring out someone that's not as talented as some other people, and those ones are more successful.
Exactly.
Let's stop talking about Portable. What I'm saying is, stop talking about Portable. What I want?
Why? I love Portable. Why? You've stabbed my heart.
He's lovable. But he shouldn't be as famous as he is.
But wait, we're still going back to what things are like in Nigeria.
He's famous for his personality and not exactly music-wise.
Aside the labels you mentioned, we don't really have that type of structure.
So music
Portable, for instance,
music is freakishly expensive, right?
It is.
As of today, with the lack of enforcement, so if I sign a contract, I'm not protected, I can lose my investment. It's the reason why even those who can invest and should invest in it don't invest. So the likes of Don Jazzy, who've built actual, sustainable systems and a label that has, gotten investment from the biggest record label of all time, Universal Music, they are legends. Those kinds of people have defied the odds. Yeah. You've had Maven 3.0 or something. There's been generations. He's been reinventing himself.
He's like a cat.
He's a legend.
9 lives.
He's a legend.
9 lives.
That business is so volatile. You can lose money so easily. So let's cut record labels a bit of slack as well, because what you have is people just wake up one morning, jump ship without fulfilling the terms of their contract, and there's no repercussion.
Okay, gang, quickly, before we wrap up the show.
I would just say, this might sound funny, but the problem is progress and prosperity.
Okay.
Because 10% of 1,000 naira isn't any big deal to you. Till it's 10% of 1 million, it's not a big deal. Till it's 10% of 100 million, it's not a big deal. Till it's 1 billion and you're like, 10%? Why? That amount, when you look at the figure of 10% of 1 billion, it's a big deal. But it wasn't a big deal when it was 1,000 naira. So when you prosper and you show your talent and elevate to that level, a lot of artists don't really care. I don't know whether this is the case in Mercy's situation.
No, that's not the case.
When it now became the figure was that high and you saw how much you're being cheated out of. They've been cheating you out of 1,000 naira here and there. But when it now got to millions of dollars, do you understand? That's when it's almost like a big deal. So do you now cap yourself and say, I shouldn't go beyond this limit? I shouldn't blow that well for a label?
No, that's a valid point too. But in this case, in fairness, the label, actually, I think the percentage was okay. I think the scuffle is all about, showing the back end.
The residuals.
Just show the back end. And if I got what I did, I'll say, okay, thank you. The contract is over, actually. So it's...
So my suspicion, especially with the angle of presenting her a 12-year contract, is that though they gave her a fair rev share on the contract, but the 50% they were getting still hadn't paid them back their investment, which was why they wanted a longer term. And so when she said no, it meant she was going to leave without them breaking even.
Exactly.
And that's why they then wanted to hold on to, I'm just hypothetically thinking.
No, you have a point there. But the thing is, the back end should still be
Of course, they should.
Because I feel that if you wanted to institute the 12 years a slave contract, well, if you showed the back end, maybe you should have said, you know what?
Reasonably.
The first 5 years
this amount was
beautiful.
Put into me.
It was beautiful. And everything is transparent. Why am I going to stress my... Please, let's continue. Maybe not 12 years. Maybe let's do for another 3 years or so. Let's see how it goes. And I'm pumped up and all that. They just want to see the back end. But everybody got embroiled. Oh, she's been chastised. She's been, and when it happens like that, and the other camp saying, oh, they are abuse of power, abuse. The thing is, just like now, I am suggesting that, just do an audit. Let's do, since it's in the court of public opinion, let's do a live audit. Bring your audit company. I can bring a record company executive to know that due process is being adhered to. Then they start doing it. A couple of hours, it should be done if you bring all that, but bring all the back end.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Can I ask Frank something?
All right, so that would be the final.
Yes.
I saw a lot of people kind of like attacked you for having a bias.
Yes.
And you had this, and I credit people that are able to enter the comment section and reply individual comments.
Well, you don't know me that well. That's what I do.
You get me and apply. You have the time and energy. Do you think you're too close to this?
No, the thing is this. Okay. It's just as if you are a lawyer now. Your brother is embroiled in some... and he doesn't have anybody support. Are you sure you will not defend your brother?
I will.
You will step in.
I am close to that. I am not coming in as a judge or a lawyer. I'm not. Of course, is he my enemy? I'll go and defend. And if it's my friend that I'm defending, Give me the thing. Let me see.
Exactly.
The people that are defending the labor.
Do they have the facts of the case?
Are they not biased?
Exactly.
They are biased. So I'm not denying that. Oh, I'm not coming as a stranger. Oh, they are I'm close friends with them. You know, so I'm close friends with all these gospel musicians, Nathaniel Bassey, Dunsin, all of them. But the thing is this: you can't be saying one thing and another thing is happening. Let us see everything so that we'll know who's saying the truth and who is not. Stop chastising her when you have not brought any
evidence.
You know what? Let's see all the back end.
To say otherwise.
No publishing from the beginning of the contract to the end. And if he says it's a lie, bring it and show payments. Show let cross-reference everything. It's simple. If you are innocent, show it. Don't start creating propaganda. And me as a media person, and my person, she's my person, I won't lie. But I'm not going to lie for her, because if I lie for her and that lie is found out
and exposed,
that means I'm a liar too.
Integrity,
then I will still come out. If based on all this, I'll come out as a man, like I always do. I say,
this is the
I say,
findings.
Based on that, this is what I thought. But based on everything now, it is now clear that my person made a mistake. And for that, I apologize. That is it. It's no big deal. Saying sorry, I just say, I'm a press person. I've said sorry to even the Twitter hoodlums that
Twitter hoodlums.
Except Daniel Rega, who I want to garrote. I want to eviscerate this thing. You know, I told him I'll pester him for 5 years. So it's been 2 years. So he has 3 more years of my perilous.
I needed to hear that.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been such a loaded edition of the show with so much information. So I'm sure everyone out there picked quite a lot of things. Some of the things I'm hearing for the very first time. And I'm happy that
your guy is very well versed.
He's chopping.
As a matter of fact, I saw a whiff of show off when he was saying this. Just let me tell you something.
All right, so before we round up, we'll quickly take some of the social media feedbacks from today's show. And I'll be starting with trying to open it now. Okay, At Olaide says, the Black Table team steady dishing us fine men. Is that the real Frank Edoho? Oh my God. Plus, who is the demigod to your left? That will be you.
It can't be me.
It can't be you.
Wow.
Demigod to your left. Plus, gang, I had no idea you have a tattoo. Gang, you have a tattoo.
You have a tattoo?
Yeah,
What is it?
My daughter's name is on my arm.
Oh, okay.
Is there only one daughter you have?
I have 2.
You have 2?
Yeah.
Better get the other arm ready.
It's too late. That's caused family drama, so I've stopped. I need permission now.
And then we have Ashade. She says, I love an overprotective man. That's from the Would You Rather earlier. Make it just be specimen like this Bada. God, I beg.
Wow. Dude, you're a snack to these social media.
It's late at night, that's why.
And David says, in the list, I was subtly looking for my late father's name. Boya, he has assets that we can go and claim. That's from the story.
From the story of
David,
UK,
sorry, we can't help you.
I'm sorry.
Afemi says, you see this royalties matter, especially in Nigeria. We know fit talk and finish. You're right.
You didn't complete it.
It's right. Let's just leave it at that because we can't complete it. There's just so much to talk about. Yes, like I said, there are certain things we do on the show. We have something called Just a Tip. And because I have 2 guests here, I'm going to have to do
2 tips.
2 tips, yes. We'll do 2
tips. Separate tips.
So a quick.
No. Why are you starting with me? Start with the snack that everybody wants.
Okay. All right, so I'll start with the snack. So just a tip for today's edition of the show. Your feedback.
I've enjoyed it thoroughly. It's a black table of worthy men. Bantering, having fun, and discussing really topical issues. So, and it's a super impressive facility that probably the cameras don't do justice to in terms of what the audience see. So it feels really nice to be in a world-class facility in Nigeria, and the show is excellent. So,
Thank you very much.
I also let them know how available he is if
Yeah, dude, are you married?
Are you
married?
I know his wife. He's not available.
No. Forget availability. Okay. My guy is signaling me, so let me just chill.
So, Frank, you're just a tip for tonight.
Oh, I mean, when they told me, I came here last Friday and they told me about the black table. I said, oh, guys talking, and we're going to be imbibing libations. Wow. I said, hey, well, it's a no-brainer. But when I came here and I saw the quality of men and talk, see, sometimes, in the real world, it's difficult to curate the people you come, this show is curated. You bring the right people to come together and talk, and it's pretty enjoyable, than, mixing with people who they rather win an argument. You understand? They want to win the argument than to admit that the other person is right. And here, what I see is maturity. What I see is knowledge. What I see is regal men coming together, rubbing minds, and learning new things,
Thank you very much.
So I learned a lot from the music industry, and that he is the subject of women's admiration.
Okay, you know what? For Toast of the Week, we'll be toasting to both Bada and Frank.
Oh.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys are amazing.
Let me toast to the ties that bind us, and may the best of your past be the worst of your future.
Amen. Cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
I like that.
Cheers.
Gang.
Black table, black drinks.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay, just by wireless toast, Bluetooth. Cheers.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. So it's a wrap right now. We have to go. It's been such an exciting edition of the Black Table. We will catch you same time, same station next week. Good night.